In this video, I'm going to be looking at and describing some 3D objects, and I'm going to try and move through them quite swiftly because we've got quite a few of them to get through. So first up, a cube, and you can see I've got an example here of a cube, a die that you draw. It's got 6 different what we'd call faces, each one with one of the numbers. Now where 2 of the faces meet, the lines along here, we call them edges. And on the cube, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 edges. And the corners on a 3D object we're going to call vertices. So one vertex or a few vertices. And here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 vertices. Now, what makes it a cube? Each of the 6 faces is all a square. This one, it's not a perfect cube because the corners are a wee bit rounded to make it roll better, but you get the idea. Now, if we have a similar shape, but instead of the faces all being square, some of them were rectangles, we'd have what's called a cuboid. And I've got an example here from a previous video, and it's a kind of box shape. So each of its 6 faces is a rectangle, and similarly it's also got 12 edges where they meet, the longer edges, and 8 vertices, 2, 4, 6, 8. Now, next type of object I'm going to talk about is what's called a prism, and these are actually examples of prisms. But here's another example. What a prism is basically, it's an object that has got 2 faces which are the same type of polygon, and that kind of goes right the way through. So for example, if you were to cut this open at any point, you would still be left, if you cut it straight, with a face that was a triangle. You know, it's just kind of a triangle going right the way through, and that gives it some other faces which will be rectangles. So this is kind of like a square based prism. This is a rectangular prism. You know, it's got like this rectangle going right through it. But if we've got one and it's a triangle, you'd say that was a triangular prism, and that goes right through it. But you could get one with a pentagon, an octagon, whatever, as long as it's the same one on both of the ends. Now, when instead of a polygon on one of the ends, we've got a circle on each of the ends, then we've got what's called a cylinder. And there's an example of it, just a tin can. Not a perfect cylinder because it goes up a wee bit. There's a wee lip going round there and it's indented a wee bit in the bottom. But again, you get the idea. It's got 2 faces that are both perfect circles. And that circle kind of goes right the way through there. If you were to cut it at any point, it would still leave a circle. And it's got another surface. We won't call it a face because it isn't flat, but another surface going round here. Next, I'm going to give another example of that. One you might not have thought of as a prism, but a coin. It's got 2 faces, which are both perfect circles, and it's the same shape right the way through. It just happens it's very thin, so it's a very kind of small prism, but it still is a prism. Moving on to the next shape, a pyramid. Going to start off with an example of a square-based pyramid. So it's got a square at the bottom, then it's got edges going up from each of these vertices right up to a vertex at the top there. So it's got one face on the bottom, and this one is not filled in, but it should be filled in. One face on the bottom, which in a square based one will be square, and 4 faces going round there that are all triangles, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 edges on that one. But as I said, that's a square based pyramid. We could also have, for example, here I've made a hexagonal based pyramid, so the base is a hexagon, but each of those points go up and meet in the middle there. So it could be, you know, a hexagon, an octagon, etc. as you start getting more and more sides, it starts getting closer and closer to a circle. And if you had a object that had a perfect circle on the bottom and then goes up to a point like this, then that's what we call in maths a cone. If you think of it, it is quite like, say for example, a cone, an ice cream cone would be like that, the other way around. But well, it could be either way around in maths, but you'll quite often see it this way. So that's a cone. It's got a circle as a base, and then it all goes up to a point here. And that leaves me just one more shape I'm going to cover in this video, and that is a sphere. I've not actually written it down, so I'll write that down. SPHERE. That's just got one smooth surface, and that's a kind of ball shape. This one's mirrored, as you can hear, there's a bell inside it, but it just like what we think of a ball shape, like a football or whatever, and it just perfectly smooth. There aren't any corners on it at all, and every point on that surface is this exact same distance from the absolute middle of the object.